healer. You've worked with dedicating, leading people to create conscious and transformative change. And I'm so happy you're here. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored.
So I guess the place that I would love to start is just to learn a little bit more about you. So to just tell us a little of your journey and also how you then became, came into this place of intuitive healing.
Yeah, so I have always, so I am Latina, and in my Colombian culture, there has always been a sense of strong spirituality and spiritual practices. And my mom has always been a person that's been connected to angels and things like that. So it was never really foreign to me. And just kind of getting tarot readings and astrology readings, but I never really fully understood. Um, I never really connected with the whole telling the future aspect of things. And basically, when I moved to LA and I was in the entertainment industry, I just like really found myself with a lot of depression and anxiety because of everything that, like, exactly like what you were talking about, things needing to be so, you know, uh, goal oriented driven. And I just always had this deeper knowing that there was more to life than just this,
Mm.
and there was more to life than just living in this hamster wheel that we're creating for ourselves, and that achieving the things that we most deeply want, it doesn't need to be so difficult as we perceive them to be. And throughout my journey here, I've connected with amazing healers and with intuitives, because that's what I would turn to when I was in despair, because I was like, I need something outside of myself. I believe in a higher power, something out there that is greater than me. And if there are people that are tapped into that, then I want to know from them,
Yes.
because I want to be able to receive information and guidance from a place of unconditional love, which I know is like what we all are. So when I would connect with them and when I would have like my sessions, this one intuitive, she just told me, she said, yeah, she's like, you could learn to do what I do. And I was like, oh my God, like I can do this. Like I can tap into source energy and I can ask all the questions and receive all the answers. And she was like, yes. And I was like, okay. And I'm like, sign me up. And at the beginning, I just did it because I wanted to live an intuitive lifestyle. I wanted to hone my gifts. And then I quickly realized after really delving into it, how important this is. And then after COVID hit, it was like, oh, I know that this is where the world, this is what's needed in the world right now, and I need to share my gifts, because if I can do this, and if I can help other people wake up to their intuitive gifts, then we can live a more aligned and fulfilled life, and that's what we're ultimately all seeking.
I love that. That's
Mm-hmm.
awesome. I think that there are so many reasons that I'm sure someone would come to work with you, but I think probably the unknown is a hard thing that everyone is dealing with on a daily basis in
Mm-hmm.
a myriad of ways in their lives, and seek support about. And I was just curious if in working with people in 2020 and 2021, as things have unfolded with this pandemic and with this uncertainty kind of going up to an 11, and feeling so different, if you have felt anything different in that space of the unknown or in the gifts that it has. It just feels like it was kind of ramped up in the last year.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And here's the thing, right? It's like the whole paradigm has shifted, right? We have a belief that we know things, but we don't. We have no idea what's going to happen in 5 minutes. We have no idea what's going to happen in an hour, next year, tomorrow. But we like to believe that we do. And that gives us a sense of certainty, which, as human beings, we all crave. However, the truth, the ultimate truth of life is that change is the only truth. Life, we are always changing. And what happened with COVID last year is that it finally allowed people to realize that we have no idea what's going to happen, and we
Yeah.
always have to be comfortable with the unknown and step into that fear and step into that and just completely surrender and let go. And once we do that, that's where the magic lies, and that's where you can really start living a fulfilled and happy life, because you're not consistently putting expectations on things. You're not putting, you know, a result on something. You're just
Yeah.
living in the present moment. And that's so hard to do. It's like what you were saying, it's like extremely challenging not to want to
Yeah.
grip, not to want to control, not to want to, you know, you know, make sure that something needs to happen. However, I have through my work, it creates certainty in the way that, because once you tap into source energy and you can ask the questions, then you shift the paradigm of your life of like, this needs to happen, versus asking, is this in my highest good for it to happen? What is in my highest good? What direction is in my highest good for me to go in? As opposed to you kind of coming up with it with your ego and really,
Yeah.
you know, and really just like clinging onto it and holding it. And then when it doesn't happen, then your world shatters. And then when it does
Yeah.
happen, you know, you become really happy for like a day, 2 days, and then you're like, oh, now this is gone. And what about the next thing?
Yeah. It's really about trusting your intuition and also honing in on what is intuition and what is your mind that is totally
Mhm.
trying to work for you. It's trying to help, but it wants to control. It's like, let me figure this out for you. And it's sort of taking over in a way. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
exactly sort of what I was talking about in the beginning of what I've been sort of trying to work with 2021, and that surrender, because it just I mean, that's really the option for me. I was like, that's kind of what I have right now. So this is
That's what
the
every yeah, that's what
thing I'm
everyone
exploring.
has.
Yeah.
We're as a collective, as a human race, we are all being pushed to completely surrender, to dig deep into compassion, that no matter what the most difficult, disgusting thing is happening on the outside, trusting and aligning within ourselves, we can only control ourselves. We can't control anything ever.
Yeah.
And that's never been true. And the only thing that we can control is how we react to things, what's going on in our internal life and in our internal system. And if we learn how to tap into our intuition, we can just then decipher what is our ego and what is, you know, our truth and our
Yeah.
heart's wisdom. And then
Yeah.
that becomes our compass. And then it doesn't matter. And then you kind of let it go, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I would love, is just like a final wrap up question for you, to just tell us if you have anything that has helped you in the last year in your own experience with being with the unknown, or any like wellness routine you might have that just helps with
Mhm.
self-care. How do you take care of yourself in these moments?
Yeah, so definitely number one is being part of a spiritual community, because the way that I like to talk about it is it's a spiritual practice. It's about obtaining a spiritual lifestyle. And what that means is like, as you hone into you know, into your intuition, it's challenging because you have to kind of like learn a new language, because we're not taught to trust our inner compass. So having a community where you can reach out to someone and be like, hey, are you experiencing this, like what's going on, like, you know, that is vital to me. That me having at least like 5 close friends that I could reach out to at any moment with something that I'm dealing with, and that they can give me their insight, or that they can help me. I still get readings and I still get healings done as well, but and deeply connecting with people that resonate with me, and just creating those opportunities. And then other things, yeah, like I've had consistent mentors that I've worked with as well, and that is really important for me as well. And because I believe that in whatever capacity you're trying to grow in, having a mentor in some capacity is really important, especially during these times, because we're not here to figure everything out by ourselves. We need guidance from someone. That's what I
Yeah.
believe, and that's what helps me tremendously.
Yeah.
And then if for like self care, I love bubble baths. They're the best.
I do too.
They're amazing. They make me feel so relaxed. Like I try to do it as much as possible. I also have this amazing practice called Abhyanga, which is a self coconut oil massage,
Mm.
where you massage yourself, you know, for up to 40 minutes. And then after that, you take a steam bath, and then you know, you just like rub it off, the oil,
Mhm.
because that I learned from my Ayurvedic practitioners. And it's moving the energy, and it's actually the deepest form of self-love, is for you to be able to soothe your own body with your own hands.
I love
So
that.
so that has that when I've had my most anxious days, I turn to that, and definitely meditation and just, yeah, those have been my
That's
main practices.
that's
So, hi everyone. I am really, really excited to be sharing this. First, I am just going to do just a collective read of what everyone needs to know specifically about the unknown in the moment, and see what comes through. And then I want to open it up for individual questions. So please, I think you can turn on your camera or your sound, and you can ask the question, or you can type it in the chat, whichever is more comfortable. So yeah. So something that I do also want to say is that, because I also I'm an astrologer, and right now what I received to let everybody know is that we are in Mercury retrograde right now. And for those of you that don't know what that is, it just means that the planet of Mercury, which is the planet that controls thought and communication, is going backwards. So you'll find that between now and until February 20th, it actually is a really important time to slow down, not to try to start anything new. And you're going to find that a lot of emotional up and downs are going to happen during this time, because there's going to be a lot of deep old limiting beliefs that are resurfacing. So something that you've tried to work on for yourself for a long time and haven't been able to fully grasp, those, those just those old thought patterns, or just around money or love or career or anything. It's just it's like creeping back up, so you can actually be able to deal with it and transition out of it. It's really asking you to take a look at what is most blocking you in your life, so you're able to transcend it and then move forward. So if you have more questions about that, you can also ask me. So so I'll start off with the channeled message, and then I'll open it up. Hmm. So what's really important for all of you to know right now about the unknown is there's a confirmation of that you are actually exactly where you're supposed to be. There's something inside of you that is calling you to this type of work, that is calling you to be here, that is calling you to show up. If you're starting to realize how much this work is actually giving you more vitality, more passion, and more freedom than the things that you used to feel about other things that create passion in your life. And I'm getting that for some of you, it's actually creating this kind of like disconnect, because you're not really you feel like you don't fully recognize yourself, or you don't fully recognize these new desires, and you don't understand how they fully fit into your lifestyle in this moment. But what they're telling me is that there needs to be an integration period where you have to allow every single time that your higher self, or that your soul, or that you just feel this strong inclination or gut feeling to join something like this group that you're in here today, or to get a reading, or to learn something deeper about a spiritual practice, or to learn something about your astrology, or to learn something. And this pull that you're feeling is only going to become more magnetized, and it's actually leading you towards something that is a deeper awakening within yourself, which is something that your soul is truly wanting you to experience in this moment. And the way that and how that translates into the unknown right now is that they're letting you know that if you continue to follow this intuition, follow this path, follow this gut feeling of delving deeper into this type of work and into yourself, whatever fear comes up is because it's scary, because you don't know what's on the other side of it. You don't fully intellectually and logically grasp the actual benefits. But what they're mostly wanting you to know is that this is the first step of surrendering, and this is the first step of actually being able to let go and feel what is on the other side, which is a sense of peace, which is a sense of calm, and which is a sense of you being able to dig out the negative and old limiting belief systems and thoughts that you've had in order to create this new version of yourself that you've always really wanted to be, but you never wanted to, and you never knew how to get there. So it's saying that if you step into this with full faith, that if you step into this unknown, that they're letting you know, that they're giving you the certainty in this moment that the biggest growth will come from it. And even though it might be challenging and scary, they want you to know that on the other side of it is something that is magically awaiting for you, and that you have ultimately fully wanted in this lifetime, and to continue that and to follow it. And if you don't recognize yourself in this moment, that that's okay, because it's a transformative process, and there are going to be moments where you're going to be letting go of people, of situations, of jobs, and you need to follow it. You can't think logically about these things. If there is a strong innate feeling in your gut that you need to let something go, you must do it, because if you don't, it's only going to perpetuate this feeling of anxiety and fear around the unknown. The more that you step into the unknown, the more that you continue to allow yourself to do things that you fear, you will get closer to unconditional love. You will get closer to feeling compassion, peace, clarity, intuition, and enlightenment. And if that's not something that you've logically wanted to experience during this time, I'm here to tell you that it definitely is so for your higher self. Your higher self and your soul want you to experience this in this moment, in this lifetime, because you are all incredibly gifted, and you're all here collectively to learn how to hone in your gifts, and how to start amplifying them, and then being able to work it into your life, and live an intuitive led lifestyle, to be able to really help and infuse it into your work, infuse it into your passion, so then you can continue to higher the vibration of other people, and then ultimately create a ripple effect that will lead for it to happen in the world. And because you are such an influential person in the world with the work that you do, it is going to happen within your circles. And the important thing for you to realize is that as you start creating this change internally, make it a very personal process for yourself. Make it something that you don't necessarily have to share with other people until you feel comfortable with, because it's a growing pains process. And as you continue to allow it to like simmer and integrate into your body, you're going to start noticing little by little that things in your outside are going to start reflecting the internal work that you're doing inside. And that is what you need to start paying attention to. When you start doing internal work and then things outside of you start shifting, those are the things to journal about. Those are the things to clock. Those are the things to pay attention to. So you can continue to follow those signs and understand that what your reality is internally, you will create it externally. So the people around your life, the situations that happen, everything is happening for a reason. And if you don't like it, and if you're not satisfied with it, then you take a moment to pause, you reflect, you journal about what you don't like, and you start the work within. And that is the most powerful practice that you can have during this time in cultivating and feeling okay and relaxed into the unknown, because the unknown is not going anywhere. That is how the rest of your life on this planet will be lived. So you might as well start to hone on this now and become comfortable and confident and free in the way that you perceive yourself, perceive the world, and start showing up compassionately with those around you in your life. So that was the message for everyone as a collective group. If any of you have any questions about what I just said or a follow-up, please let me know. Or then I can also connect with you individually. Thank you, Catherine.
I mean, I have a question just about, I'm not turning on my camera, but it's Catherine. Hello, everybody. Just about what you were talking about at the very beginning with Mercury in retrograde and thought patterns resurfacing or triggers resurfacing that and I was just curious with, I can really relate to that. And with things that come up that are triggers or thought patterns that seem old and kind of like, oh, I've done the work on this, I really felt like I've moved past this or forward, or what may be the gift or reason that that is still showing up in our lives?
Mm-hmm. It's happening because it's not fully healed, and it's because it's not fully been released. So you think that you've released it, but it's actually just here to show you that you just have a little bit more work to do. And a really good practice around that is to actually journal out all of those limiting beliefs. And when they resurface and when they come up extremely strongly, then go and write it down, because there's a lot of magic and power in actually writing something down. So write it down in a journal, on a piece of paper, and then burn it. And just continue to say to the universe, like, I release this. I release this and I let this go. This is no longer my reality. And it's doing it, and you're going to find that maybe people from your past come up, like issues from the past resurface again. And it's just here to show you one of two things: either that you've completely, because sometimes when things that are very triggering come up, it's a time for you to really start thinking about how you're reacting to it. So for example, if these old limiting beliefs come up and your reaction is like you drown in them again, then there's more work to be done. But if these limiting beliefs come up and you're like, oh, that's interesting that that thought is there, like that doesn't resonate with me anymore, like it's gone, then you know that you've done the work in order to release it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. It does make sense. And it's interesting because I think I do, um, I relate so much to people coming back in your life or, things like that. And I do think that it's interesting to also note how I do handle them differently now. Like, even though they still trigger things in me, that I am not letting it drown me. And I think I can get like, oh, why do I still feel anything from this when I thought, but I think it's important to note that I feel differently now than I did before I was doing all of the work as well. So I really liked what you said about journaling that out as well. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's a really powerful practice. I do it myself. And it's something when it's like when I feel like I can't sleep, or it's just in the like, for me, subconscious thoughts that arise happen very strongly in the morning, or when I wake up in the middle of the night. And when I can't go back to sleep, I literally I journal it all out. I like word vomit it. And then when I wake up, or when the time is right, I just go on my balcony and I just set the piece of paper on fire. And it usually just makes me feel extremely relaxed and released. So it's just because you have to continue. I mean, reprogramming your neural pathways, it takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not going to, it's like, it's an ever evolving process. And the more that you do it, then eventually you'll find that you eventually shift out of it. And, but I'm happy that you brought up triggers, because when you're triggered about something, it means that no one can make you feel anything. And when you become triggered, it's a direct reflection on yourself. And
Mm.
you have to ask yourself, like, in what area of my life so you a really good exercise with that is, when you're triggered, then you sit down and you say, let's just say that someone reaches out to you, and you ask yourself, how does this person make me feel? The situation make me feel annoyed, angry, resentful. Write down all the feelings that it makes you feel. And then ask yourself intuitively, just check in with yourself, in what area of your life are you making yourself feel that way? Because all the trigger is a reflection of how you actually feel about yourself in a certain area of your life. And sometimes it's not even related. Sometimes a person triggers you and they make you really angry, and you just get really upset about something. But maybe you're angry at yourself in the area of finances. Maybe you're angry at yourself in the area of self-care, or in your vocation, or um, in your physical activity. So you have to really sit with yourself and actually ask yourself why, and what are the feelings that are coming up for you when you're triggered, and then in what area of your life are you feeling it. And then that's how you can actually reverse feeling triggered and heal it.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to say that I really connect to this idea of limiting beliefs, and because we're always in process, right? We're always there's always growth to be had and growth to be discovered in yourself. So I really dig that that idea, because I have this negative self-talk can be difficult, and I do seem to come back to some of the same ideas, limiting ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And so so you're saying that there's like always growth to be had, but if those are coming up, then we should be able to speak them, write them, and identify them, so we can take a look and do the internal work for it.
Exactly,
Correct.
exactly.
Yeah.
Because they're coming up for a reason. They're coming up because they want to eventually come out, right? Because if we're all beings of light, right? If we're all born as unconditional love, these old limiting beliefs are what are holding you back from being that full highest version of yourself. So it's asking you to address it, because your soul wants to be able just to live compassionately and live, a life that's not riddled with fear, because old limiting beliefs, all it is just they're fear based, and we're love, right?
Yeah.
So when you have these old limiting beliefs that keep on coming up, there's something deeper that needs to be addressed. Sometimes it could be trauma, sometimes it could be forgiveness in with someone in your life, someone in your past that you have been avoiding, and you just, it's like it's really like deep seated, and you're not even taking a look at it. So that's why this type of reflective work is very, very important, especially during this time that the planetary energies are coming together just to gift you with like all of these patterns that come up. Because if it keeps on happening, it's just going to go down more downward spirals, and it's not going to be good for your overall growth.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you. Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
Andrea posted a question in the chat box that I think is really interesting.
Yeah, let me see. Okay, so she asked, if you feel continuously triggered by the same person, how do you really discern where the trigger is within yourself versus maybe cutting out that person or standing up for yourself in that way? Okay, so with that, um, let me actually look intuitively and then see what I get. Yeah, so there is a fine line between the two, because when you're feeling continuously triggered by the same person, first do the exercise that I talked about, which is ask yourself if what you're actually angry about is what they're saying or about the way that they're treating you. Really get deep into what it is that is the trigger. And this, and you should never address the person when you're feeling triggered. You should never go into having a discussion about something when you're feeling angry with them about it. If you're already having thoughts of cutting out that person, or maybe they're triggering me so much that I should just cut them out, the answer is probably yes. And part of the being triggered is that you don't trust yourself enough to be able to make that choice with complete authority and confidence, compassion, and love. You are able to let go of people in your life that no longer serve you in a way that is mutually beneficial and that is not problematic. And that's something that we have cultivated, and we've thought that maybe it has to just be like this big breakout, and that and it has to be insulting or anything. But actually, when you really sit with yourself and you ask yourself, what is it about this person that is triggering? She or he is actually triggering a part in yourself that you are not dealing with. And that's why people are constant mirrors and reflections of us. So whatever they're doing and whatever they're triggering is basically an aspect that you're completely blindsided by, and that you're not actually paying attention to yourself. And once you heal it within yourself, that person will no longer trigger you, and that situation will no longer trigger you. However, if you are living in a constant triggered state with a person that's close to you in your life, it is very important for you to take some distance in order for you to do that internal work, because you can't do that internal work when you're constantly activated. And so you have to respectfully communicate with that person that there needs to be some space had, and then really start doing the internal work and asking yourself these questions, or going to someone that can look for it with you into a little bit deeper, because we do all have soul contracts with people in our lives, and a lot of people are here to teach us lessons. And so you have to ask yourself, what is the lesson that I'm here to learn in this moment with this person? And usually that's something that can come up. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question? And Andrea, I think is how you
Andrea, yeah, thank you. You articulated something that kind of blew my mind, which was like not feeling that like you have the authority to take that. I wrote it down as take that space. That's not what you said, but that's kind of how I translated it. But yeah, you're so right that there is like I mean, I sort of have two people that have come up in the pandemic, but one specifically, it's like, it's just being able to take that authority and saying like, no, this is how I feel. And this is how I want to, you know, I have equal partnership in this relationship to say, I don't want to continue this dynamic as it is.
Mm-hmm. And part of that trigger for you can be the fact that you're not fully trusting yourself in making that decision for yourself, because you're putting the needs of them and how they feel in the relationship more than yourself, right? So because, and when you're not being truthful to yourself and to your inner heart's wisdom of knowing this person is not good for me anymore, then that is going to create such an activation in your body. And because it's trying to warn you, it's trying to say like, please abort, and you're not listening. And then it's perpetuating that. So there can be this relaxation in knowing that it's okay to put yourself first. You can cut people out of your life and you have the authority to do it. And it doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you uncompassionate. You can be able to communicate it in a way, and you don't even have to give them an explanation if you don't want to. But it's something, because like if you feel like they're not, they wouldn't even understand, you don't even have to verbally explain it to them. It can just be a conscious choice that you make on your own.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. Hi, Natalia. It's Tara.
Hi, Tara.
I'm really excited you could do this. So at the top, you guys were talking about control, and I was like, God, this feels like a Control Freaks Anonymous meeting. And hi, I'm Tara. I'm a control freak. One of the things I've been struggling with for a few years, and that has exploded with the pandemic, is this idea of growth in career and stability with money. And as a creative, both feel so out of our own control a lot of times, and not having work right now, or not having the work I want right now, and not worrying about being able to pay rent or buy food, you know, has really been exacerbated in this time, but has been something I've lived with for a few years. And so I was kind of curious, just kind of when things like that feel out of your control and you're grasping for control, how can you both still work towards that stability, but also not drive yourself crazy that you can't control it?
Yeah. Okay. Let me see what comes up. So, Tara, what's coming up for you specifically with this topic of control is that control comes from the fear of not trusting yourself, not trusting the universe, not actually seeing how blessed and how many opportunities are actually flooding you. Like I just see literal, just like opportunities are all around you, are completely flooded. And it's like it's like the image that I'm receiving is like you have this bountiful forest of like green grass and just apples and trees, and it's amazing. But in that huge forest and field, there's just one rotten tree, and that it's the one that has like all the dead apples and the dead weight and everything, and all you're putting all of your time, energy, and attention into trying to save that tree. You're trying to save the tree, you're trying to nurture it back to health, you're literally just only focusing on the one tree that is dead. You're trying to control that tree to, and this is obviously all metaphorical, and we'll see how it can relate to you specifically, but they want me to show you this metaphor. So it's like they're you know, and it's almost like you're trying to nurture it back to health, as opposed to just accepting it and just allowing it to die, and literally just taking a step in the other direction and be like, oh my God, I'm so abundant. Look at all of these opportunities that are constantly flooding me. But you just want to hold on so tight to the idea that you have of wanting to save this one tree, that you're missing out on all of the other life opportunities that life is giving you. So the reason why you're having so much trouble and exasperation with finding resources and finances to do that is because you're actually not giving yourself enough credit in the ways that you are so incredibly talented and gifted, and you're not actually taking the opportunities that are coming to you with like face value, because you're like, oh no, I'm going to say no to this because it has nothing to do with this, as opposed to opening yourself up, saying yes, and trusting that all of these other opportunities that are coming knocking on your door are actually going to lead you to where you want to be, versus this dead tree that's on the side that you're paying attention to. So they're just telling you to take a step back from it, let it go, let the tree die. Just let it go, and turn around, pay attention to all the other opportunities, say yes to them, because it's going to create this sense of peace. Because there is with you being able to go to this forest, you're going to find so much more opportunity and growth for yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if anyone wrote a new message. I have a tree or two like that in my field. Yep. I think we all do.
I just wanted to say that it's approaching noon, but I am totally happy to go a little over. I don't want anyone to stay if they have to leave, but I just wanted, Natalia was very generous and offered that we could go a little over noon if we wanted. So I just wanted to jump in here and say that I'm happy to do that. I wouldn't mind that at all. So, but anyway, I just wanted to let everyone know, if you have to leave, that's totally fine. But if not, I encourage you to stay. And if you have any other thoughts or questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, please ask any more questions. And Tara, if you have something more specific, then you can ask as well from what I just said.
Thanks. Your metaphor made a lot of sense.
It made a lot of sense?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
I wanted to say that something that you said earlier resonated with me about taking things personally, and how that's reflection on inner work that needs to be done on self, because nobody can make you feel anything. It all comes from within, and that speaks to me greatly, especially right now, because like I find myself being very angry with people, especially when I see them like not wearing masks around, or like just being super rude. I took a walk, my dog's on a walk the other day, and somebody was parked in the middle of the crosswalk, and I asked her to move, and she flipped me off, and I was like, it just made me so angry, and I don't want to feel that way. I don't want to feel that way. So and I also realized that, like, they're not making me feel that way. That's they might be acting rude, but it doesn't mean that I have to respond in that way. And so, like, especially in this time when like we crave connection's difficult because we're so isolated. How does somebody interpret these like emotions that don't seem like normally who I am as a person, in terms of my relation to strangers, essentially, when it used to be positive, and now I feel like almost like confrontational with people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And just like you said, this person flipped you off because you were a vibrational match to receive that, right? Because you're emanating anger, like you said. It's like it's a cycle, right? Because you're angry, like you said, you're feeling angry and resentful, and all of these things, and frustration. then that's what your energetic frequency is emitting. And then when someone's parked and you say something, then they flip you off because she's reflecting back to you how you're feeling inside about yourself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's how you can start to not take things personally because you're like, oh, and that's how you can start changing the conversation of, oh, she flipped me off. Huh. What's going on inside of me that I just attracted that, as opposed
Yeah.
to these people and what are they doing, right?
Yeah.
Because everything is a reflection. So if you're feeling angry and resentful, and if you're getting triggered, if someone's not wearing a mask, or if someone's not following the rules, or if someone is doing this, or if someone's doing that, then that's where you, and especially when there's strangers, and that's actually a really good place to start because it's not a person. And that's when you're kind of like, okay, this is all internal, you know. Or you know, it happens to me, for example, when I'm driving, I never get road rage. Like, I don't care if someone ever cuts me off. Someone can be the most stupid person on the road, and I don't get offended because I don't care. But if there is ever a moment when someone cuts me off and I get pissed and I'm like, ah! I'm like, okay, Natalia, what is going on with you today? Let's check in with you. What's going on? So let me check in specifically what is going on with you and your rage, because it's
Great.
something
Yeah.
that's very deep seated. So hold on. So for you, what's going yeah, so for you, what's coming up for you is that there is this like this deep rooted fear that you're having into bringing a child into the world with this type of climate. There's a fear that that the child might be in danger, or that something can easily happen to it because of the state of the world, and that you believe that there, you know, that anyone at any time could possibly, you know, harm or create disharmony within it. However, they want to let you know that that's not true, because what's going on in the state of the world is a bit exasperated at the moment, and the only thing that you can do, and that you can control, is to create the inner peace within your own household and within your own family. Now that you're going into this transitional phase of becoming a father and being a leader in your family, and being the person that is is the example of what you want your child to grow up to be, you're being challenged and you're being pushed and you're being asked to level up in your values as a person in the world, and the way that you show up with yourself, because you don't want to be passing on all of these things to your child, and there's nothing that you can do that's perfect, because that perfection doesn't exist. It's you're going to do a great job at anything that you do, but this anger, this deep-seated anger, is actually coming from you putting the power in other people, in them creating your existence and your reality, when actually, if you start doing these subtle changes, and if you actually start really sitting with yourself and asking yourself, what are my values? Like, what is the legacy that I want to leave behind with my child? Who is the person? Who do I want to be? Who is the person that I want to be as a role model? And then you really think about that, you ask yourself these deep questions, and then you start finding ways in your life that you can start shifting and implementing them towards. Then you're going to find that this anger and that this lack of control that you're feeling of being you know, controlled by the outside, that will start to fall away. And the more that you get connected to your center, to your strength, to your masculine, to your leadership, because you come off to me as a fantastic leader in a huge community advocate. But that's not something that you are allowing yourself to fully be fulfilled and expressed right now. And you're being really just called forth to do it, and especially with a child. um and once you start taking more control of your own life, and of your own authority, then you won't continue to feel threatened by others, because you'll be able to stand your ground extremely planted, that you won't be able to be swayed by the outside world.
That's dope. That's dope. I connect to all of that, particularly the giving up of power to others. Like I have this, I have this joke with my friend or a friend of mine where I say it's like life is like the white water rapids, and like there are certain people in life who are like at the front of the boat, like taking charge, and like I'm hanging out in the back of the boat, just like going for the ride, but enjoying it, but kind of just letting the ride happen. And then my friend is in the back, getting dragged, getting bounced off the water. So like I totally relate to that, and I definitely feel the connected also to the taking a leadership position in community and in family and in life, and owning that and speaking my truth, which is something that I've been dealing with for a few years now, head on. So that's awesome. You're dope. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And yeah, so it's time for you to fully take the reins of your own life in all capacities. There's no more I'm along for the ride. There is no more of that. There is no ride for you to be along. The ride is your life, and your life is what you need to take hold and reins over. And then you're not going to care about what other people are doing. Who cares if no one wants to wear a mask? Who cares if the person is parked in the street? Who cares? That's like you're when you live in your own authority and your own strength, you stop caring about what other people are doing, and you're able to speak from a place of truth that is so connected to your heart that it doesn't matter whether people agree with you or not. And then other people will be triggered by what you have to say, but it doesn't matter because it's your truth, because you're not here to change anybody's mind or anybody's perspective. You're only here to live your own truth. And that's all you need to know.
Yeah. Thank you. That's dope. Thank you.
You're very welcome. So does anybody else have a question that they would like me to look into for them?
I mean, I do. Really quickly, I wanted to piggyback off of what Tara was talking about, because I relate so much to that, about career, about this time. And also I feel for myself personally that I have a pattern almost of, like I have huge aspirations when it comes to my career. I'm definitely someone who's ambitious and excited about that. But I feel that there's always been, it just hasn't quite ever worked. And I feel in this last year that there was a purpose for that actually that was exactly right, that it wasn't supposed to work at that point because of where I'm sort of headed and how I'm wanting to share my own story of the things that happened. And like, it just feels like the timing feels good, but I think there's still in me this uncertainty about that unknown and the career that I'm, really sort of pushing for right now and working towards. And so I just was wondering if you had anything to offer about that.
Yeah, definitely. I was getting lots of strong messages while you were talking, mostly that you are definitely meant to be a healer. So let me just look more into it. Yeah. So Catherine, you have had a certain perspective of what you wanted your career. You've had certain desires, and you've had a certain image of what you have wanted your career to look like. However, even this platform that you've built has given you an opportunity to kind of just, you're doing it from the goodness of your heart and just to create community, but actually this is the path that your soul chose to live out in this lifetime. You are actually meant to be a healer, an energetic facilitator and healer, and a builder of a community and a huge platform for people to really learn how to hone in on their experiences with transforming themselves out of anxiety and control and depression into something that is more fulfilling. So the reason why things have been so challenging is because you're constantly placed with roadblocks of situations that are not in your highest good, and you're not going to, until you finally step out of that, then you're not going to be able to completely fulfill what it is that you signed up for during this time of your life.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I wanted to jump in. Oh my God, this is so cool. I feel like everything that you're telling about, pretty much informing everyone about, it just resonates with, you kind of just start being like, oh, that resonates. Oh, I'm going to click here.
Yes.
It's like you're at a supermarket in a way.
Yeah. So, and I totally forgot to mention this. We all, you all came here collectively together, and because you all, are match like vibrationally and energetically matched. So it makes sense that probably everything that I've said resonates with every single one of you. Because that's the cool thing about group reads.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So I wanted to touch on trusting where you are at.
Mm-hmm.
So like, especially within my career, I'm also creative, and I literally just moved back from LA, and I've been so grateful also, just always trying to be like, Julie, look at the apples, look at the fruits, look at the blessings, being surrounded by family and feeling like way more comfortable. I couldn't even see myself honestly being away from my family and going through this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like, yes, it's meant to be, but also that I struggle definitely with like, damn, am I like really supposed to be here right now? Should I just get up and go? Or like that, the location, just trusting where I'm at. Like, it's just something that I like, sometimes I'm like, yes. And then it's like, no. You know what I mean?
And where are you right now?
I'm in the East Coast. I'm like in New Jersey right now.
In New Jersey with your family.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I actually want to take you through a little exercise. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to ask yourself the question, how do I feel being in New Jersey? And I want you to explain to me and speak to me with your eyes closed what sensations come up in your body.
Comfort, sense of like security in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm here, but I can be anywhere else in like a blink of an eye.
Mm-hmm. And does your chest feel expansive? Is it an expansive feeling?
Like opening, like a sensation of open.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what happens? And then so now ask yourself the question, just close your eyes again, take a deep breath in, and ask yourself the question, how does it make me feel to move back and live in Los Angeles? And what are the sensations that come up for you?
It feels like I do want to be there.
That's not what I'm asking. Again, it's like it's not about what you think. How is your body? What is your body reaction?
I don't know, tight, a little tight.
Tight. Mm-hmm. Tight and compressed.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Amazing. So that is a really, really good indication of how you can tap into your intuition. So that is a wonderful way for you to trust your own intuition. When you thought about Los Angeles, you went directly into your logical brain, but your body is trying to communicate to you through restriction, constraint, that it's a no.
Mm-hmm.
When you feel expansive, when you feel open, when it feels comforting, when it feels like the emotions just take you, that is a resounding yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that is your intuition. That is your own internal intuitive system telling you that you are exactly where you're supposed to be. However, the fear of you thinking that you need to be doing something and need to do because of X, Y, and Z and yada, 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 yada is allowing you to completely remove the love that you're feeling and the feeling of security. Don't we all want to feel secure? At the end of the day, we want to feel secure. We want to feel love. And that's something that you feel with your family, but because you don't think that that's what you need, then you are right now changing and thinking that, and thinking that Los Angeles is a better situation for you when your body is actually telling you no.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted
Yeah,
to
it's
take you.
interesting. Yeah,
Mhm.
sorry. No, that it's interesting because, I mean, obviously the whole, just your fear, like let go of your fears and all this other stuff. But then you're like, wait, okay, yes, I do agree, and I will step into that. And we want to push because we want to feel, not feel, but you step into like a different, I want to say, like power. You challenge yourself because you have to let go of your fears. And of course, securities is always good. But then you're like, my body, of course, my intuition is saying the opposite, at least right now. So I remember when I like went out there, my body was saying, go. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And now it's like, don't.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, and it could change, and you probably learned what you needed to learn being in Los Angeles,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe in a year you're going to want to come back. You
Mm-hmm.
don't know, but for right now, you need to learn to trust your intuition. That's the major theme that I'm getting for you, to
Mm-hmm.
continue to trust your internal guidance system of asking yourself the questions, how do I feel about being home right now? And you can check in with yourself every month
Mm-hmm.
and ask yourself the question, because right, you have the power to control those things, but it's you can't uh, you can't trust your logical brain on this one, and your intellect, because it's actually you're thinking right now that um a lot of like shame and guilt for not being in Los Angeles and achieving this lofty dream, and no one needs to be in Los Angeles right now. Like it's okay. Like you need to be where your spirit and your soul are going to have the major and most amount of growth.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
Nice.
security is very important to feel, and a lot
Uh-huh.
of people don't feel it right now, and you're very blessed to be in your home with your family, that's your highest value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy. I have like this really, that while you're speaking, I have this huge sensation of like, they feel like the earth is pulling me down right now. Like
Mm,
just super like grounded. Like it's it's nice. I
yeah,
love it.
exactly, and that is the feeling that you always want to have, feeling grounded and protected by Mother Earth, and you know that you're deeply held and safe. So what would it look like for you if you trusted yourself, if you completely trusted your intuition and said, you know what, I'm going to stay here and I'm not going to try to do anything else, and you surrender to being home? Then
Mm-hmm.
so many opportunities are going to open up for you,
Mm-hmm.
so many things that you didn't even think that you realized, maybe artistic opportunities over there that you didn't even have access to over here.
For real. Super.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. Is that everyone? Did everyone get to go and ask a question?
It looks like it was.
Okay.
Natalia, thank you so much for staying later. And
Yeah, of
everyone, thank
course.
you so much for joining us and joining us for this whole time. This was honestly one of the most powerful runs we've ever had. It's so beautiful. Thank you so much. Um, so you can follow the Ren Circle on Instagram. We also in the chat, I believe, posted Natalia's Instagram as well. Please follow her if you're not already. And I think our next Ren Circle is going to be March 7th. So 1 month from today,
Mhm.
March 7th. And you can follow us to learn more, and we'll be announcing about that soon. And that's it. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. And I wanted to say that if you want to look into, because these were obviously just mini reads and not a lot of stuff, deep rooted stuff comes up when it's in a group setting. So if you want to go deeper, my website is nataliaochoa.com, and you can book a session with me, and we can get into like, all the nitty gritty stuff. And then I could actually give you actionable, tangible steps in moving forward to the direction for your highest good in whatever topic that you want to talk about, including tapping into your
Beautiful.
intuition.
Beautiful. Awesome.
Mhm.
Thank you so much. All right, everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, Daniel just put it in the chat. So make sure that you guys go there if you want to learn more information. And we'll see you all next month. Have a beautiful rest of your Sunday.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Bye, everyone.
Natalia.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much.
Okay. Bye.